Alright guys, it's time we talked about this. So if you've been on social media recently, you've probably seen a lot of talk about AI generated art. In order to understand the severity of the issue surrounding AI art, we have to understand how AI works. When an AI creates a piece of art, it doesn't generate that content out of thin air. Instead, there needs to be an input in order for there to be an output. In the big picture, machine learning companies such as Stability AI generate profits from high quality media. And the creation
Machine learning, not actually AI. Machine learning
of this media depends entirely on training their AI on a specific dataset. These images are made by assembling visual data that have statistical correlations to each other to produce a final result that looks acceptable. That's a very simplified explanation, but that's the gist of how AI systems work. All you gotta know is in order for that image to be generated, there has to be a dataset, and that
I'm really sorry to pause him while he's talking. I want to look at this picture for a second. The fuck am I looking at? What eldritch horror? And this is one of the reasons why there's some things about AI art that I enjoy. I fucking love this. This is horrific and awful. And this is like the kind of, have you guys ever seen the centaur, the human centaur that's got a human torso sticking out of human shoulders, and it's runs on regular legs and hands, and it's it's terrifying. The hand turkey, fuck. I love this kind of stuff. It's not the kind of art I create, but I absolutely fucking love this kind of crazy bonkers surrealist fuckery. Now, I don't think this is completed. I think this is a work in progress of something that could be some kind of terrifying eldritch horror.
Simplified explanation, but that's the gist of how AI systems work. All you gotta know is in order for that image to be generated, there has to be a dataset, and that is where the problem comes in. In these datasets, there exists billions of copyrighted images, of artworks, of photographs, of people, all of which was collected from the internet without the consent of the intellectual property owner.
There's actually a more insidious bit to that he doesn't get into, I don't think, in this video, but I'm going to touch on it here because he brought it up. Images of people. That can mean your Facebook images. That could mean that should AI develop and remain unregulated, if you've posted pictures of your children could end up as part of any kind of AI output that anybody could be producing. And the implications of that is really fucked up. If you understand what I'm saying and what I'm getting at.
My personal artwork that I share on my Instagram page has been used to train AI models. And chances are, if you've shared your work online or even images of yourself, your house, your environment, you might have been included in these datasets. And if you guys want a really great in-depth look on this topic, I recommend Steven Zapata's video, which I'm gonna link in the description below. The problem here is your artwork and my artwork, the moment we share them online, they are opted in to the system. If your work so much as exists online, it will be found and it will be used in a piece of AI art. And we as artists are not being protected. This is genuinely an industrial scale violation of each and every one of our rights. Stability AI has claimed, quote, because diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting, releasing a model trained on copyrighted data could potentially result in legal issues. Basically admitting to the fact that their models directly use copyrighted content. And many of these.
So the programmers making these bots know. The people working at Diffusion know what they're doing is problematic.
Generated images tend to look identical to their original copyrighted counterparts. Images and text descriptions are taken from the internet through a practice called data mining, which allows these companies to accumulate an incomprehensible amount of data. And these corporations have intentionally targeted legal loopholes to allow them to do this. Stability AI itself funded the creation of the largest dataset being used, which is called Lion 5B. This data
Shocking. So the people who make the bot are also the people who are scraping the imagery and mining the data. Shocking. I'm baffled by this.
dataset contains 5.8 billion points of image and text data, including copyrighted data and private data. This non-consensual practice of using copyrighted data in commercial products is illegal. But here is where it gets really, really messy. Now, this database Lion 5B, which is most widely used for AI generation, was created with the pretext of research. But the corporations behind the funding of this research quickly turned it into a commercialized product, which now include Dream Studio and Stable Diffusion, both owned by Stability AI.
Wow, a for-profit company made a shell corporation, or made a shell research group to do research that they could then take the research from and have priority from, so then they could use it to do whatever they wanted with to make money. Say it ain't fucking so.
Lensa AI has been charging money for specific avatar packs, and as a result of which these companies are now making massive amounts of profit. This loophole allows these companies to weave their way through legal regulations which are put in place to protect the copyrighted work of artists and creatives. And this process has been fittingly described as data laundering.
And that's nothing new for corporations. It is nothing new for corporations to bullshit their way around legal loopholes and lobby to maintain those legal loopholes or create them in the first place. So yeah, this is just ongoing. It's just now affecting artists that are being targeted in particular.
Copyrighted work of artists and creatives. And this process has been fittingly described as data laundering. And a lot of users even go as far as to use directly the names of certain artists to create their generated content. For example, concept artist Greg Rutkowski, you've probably heard of him. He has had his name used 250,000 times between Stability AI and Midjourney's AI platforms.
So remember when I was looking at Jazz's video and seeing what they were doing when I was like, it's a real big problem if you're searching for a particular artist's style? That thing he just said.
He has had his name used 250,000 times between Stability AI and Midjourney's AI platforms. Not only is the collection of copyrighted content of legal concern, but so is this. When AI generations are made to look like an artist's work, this has the potential for reputation damage, for forgery, for fraud, for identity theft. And what's most concerning is that when these models are trained on images of your artwork, they are unable to forget. So almost all of these models are now working with tainted data. Their generations now all involve copyrighted content which has been gathered without the knowledge or permission of the copyright owner.
And so that's part of the problem with AI art, is the answer is you have to scrub it and start from scratch. You have to do it again. You have to remove any access and any work that you've done so far and any AI you've developed up until this point, throw it the fuck out and start again. That is the only option. That is the only option to deal with this from an ethical standpoint, and train it solely on public works. And the thing is they could have done that initially. They could have done that initially. The people that were working on this, the programmers, could have done this initially. They just didn't give a shit. They didn't care, or they knew better and did it maliciously. That's the other potential option, because I don't know them. I'm not their friends. They could have used public domain shit and scrubbed specifically public domain things, like clip art, like stock images, like things that are in the public domain because they're so old. They could have, and they didn't. They didn't give a shit. They just went and they pulled a Grinch. And the thing that irks me maybe is that they could have done this ethically and specifically chose not to. Either through negligence at best or malice at worst. And maybe the answer is a little bit of both.
It is directly hurting artists who have put their passion and their soul into everything that they create, only for their work to be scraped from the internet without their permission and used in training AI models. To the large corporations and businesses behind AI, the perfect world would mean one where there doesn't need to be a middleman. There doesn't need to be an artist. It'll be a world where these large businesses can capitalize and monopolize an entire industry. The worst part of it all is you and we don't have the option to opt out, and the AI does not have the option to forget. Now, even with all this being said, a lot of people who are in support of AI will still try to dismiss this point. But if you're on the fence about this, all I ask is that you take a look at the music industry. There have been AI models made to create audio content. But when it comes to audio content and the data that's being used for that, these companies go out of their way to mention that everything being used is copyright free and that every aspect of that creation process is based on a fair and ethical system that doesn't infringe on the rights of music artists. So
take for example the audio copyrights on Twitch, or take for example copyright on YouTube. It's all over the place. It's easy for them to recognize copyrighted pieces. Why would it be so difficult for AI art? Oh, because there's so much data? So then why wouldn't we just assume that there has to be at least a percentage of copyrighted art in every piece? Simple as that. And then it would just be a matter of figuring out whose. And the answer is it's probably a bunch of us. Not that I'm popular enough to be in there, but if it's scraping everything, it's scraping everything.
So please tell me now, why is there such a double standard when it comes to visual artists? Visual art, just like music, has been around since the beginning of humanity. It's been such an integral part of our culture. From being found on ancient artifacts, on carvings, on stone, art is one of the backbones of our humanity. And I absolutely love that music artists have their rights protected. But if that's the case, why should visual artists be literally trampled on an industry-wide basis? This is simply not artists crying and whining over something that's unreasonable. This is our creation that we hold so near and dear to our hearts. In some cases, it might be our livelihoods. It might be the way we put food on the table for our families. But in every single case, this is our passion. This is what makes us who we are. And all of us, me and you, and even if you're not an artist and you're watching this video, we have a right to feel angry, to feel the way that we do right now about this unethical system.
He also touched on something that is really important about cutting the middleman out and cutting out the artist. But again, which we brought up earlier, and which Monty has brought up earlier, when you cut out artists completely, you don't have anything new going in, meaning that you've put visual art now into a box, because the AI can never get out of the box. It only gets out of the box. You can only put stuff into the box, right? It can only draw from whatever you've put in that box. So if you remove artists, you don't get anything new in that box. And we're going to talk a little bit more in the next video about why that's a big deal from an industry standard and how that actually would play out in the industry.
Single time an artist speaks out about this issue, I see the same tired, overused counterpoints to try to quiet that artist down. And I am just so tired of it. People saying things such as, you put your work online, it's on the internet, it's free for us to use. That's simply...
That is bullshit. That is 100% not the case. That is not how that works. That is not how that functions. Again, look with your eyes, not with your hands.
A misunderstanding of the law. Just because something is online doesn't mean you can use it for whatever you want, especially not for commercial purposes. I've also heard people say that AI...
And just because it's legal, it doesn't mean it's ethical. So you can do something that's totally legal and people say, hey, I have an ethical problem with that, and they go, what? So what? I didn't break the law. What are you going to do about it? And it's like, that doesn't address the point. It doesn't address the point at all. I'm saying it's unethical, not whether or not it's legal. Right? Something can be completely legal, but still be unethical. There's lots of examples of that.
Takes inspiration from references just like artists do. When someone says this, chances are, number one, they don't understand the artistic creative process, or number two, they don't understand how AI works. AI takes data directly from that dataset, and it's able to create a perfect replica. Humans simply cannot. And if you point to the examples of forgery in the art world, that practice is not something that we condone. That practice is highly frowned upon. A human has to literally look at the inspiration, process it in their minds, combine it with their life experiences, with the way they feel, with how they approach every single brushstroke. I've seen thousands of studies of my work that people post online and tag me in, and in every single one of those pieces, even if it's a complete one-to-one study, I can see the unique human touch that made that piece their own. So no, an artist taking inspiration from someone else's work and studying a reference is not the same as AI image generation. There is also that really weak argument that this technology is here to stay, it's inevitable, so why don't you just accept it and stop fighting? And that just...
That's what Jazza said. That was one of Jazz's argument. The cat's out of the bag, it exists now, we have to accept it, and we have to just learn to live with it. And like, no, I don't wanna. You can't make me.
There seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding of why artists are upset and what we're fighting for. I myself, and I know a lot of artists, are not here to erase AI technology completely. We don't want to do that, and we know we can't do that. The thing is, AI is here to stay. I accept that, and I welcome that. But the way these systems are organized and structured to take advantage of millions of artists is something that we are not okay with. It's not about pushing back against AI technology itself. It's about pushing back against these unethical practices of using our work, commercializing it, all of which without our consent. Artists such as myself are not given the option to opt out, not given any compensation, and not asked for consent or permission before our images are used. I don't even want an opt-out system. This system should be opt-in in the first place. Why should my work that I've put tens of thousands of hours into be scraped and taken without my permission and opted into the system automatically? This system exploits artists, it's unethical, and I don't want to be a part of it. And just to summarize how bad it's all gotten, I'm going to give you guys some personal anecdotes and some experiences that I've had with the AI community. A few weeks back, it was brought to my attention that somebody on Reddit had created a model based on 300 images of my work, all of which taken without my knowledge, without my consent, and it was shared on a Reddit post in the community of Stable Diffusion. Not only were these generations watermarked, but the poster also said that there was no need to ask for permission from the artist in order to make these models public, which, as I've mentioned before, in the words of Stability AI, could get you into legal issues. So naturally, I called it out. I put it on my story, I showed people what's going on, I voiced my discontent with the situation. But the fact that I called this out caused a lot of anger on both sides.
How dare you call out someone using your shit to make shit? How dare you, sir? What were you thinking? Having an opinion on the internet about your own stuff being taken advantage of. What a dick, am I right, guys? Alright, guys? Yeah, fuck this asshole. No, he's 100% right, and he has every right to sit down and talk about it, and he has as much as it's great to say, hey, we need to have, like, respectful discourse. You stole my shit is not a disrespectful thing to say to someone who stole your shit. That's not disrespectful to the person who stole your shit. It's a fact. And being discontent about it, even if you're, like, ragey and angry about it, that's fair. And to say otherwise is, I think, disrespectful to artists. So, this is only going to get worse.
Issues. So naturally, I called it out. I put it on my story, I showed people what's going on, I voiced my discontent with the situation. But the fact that I called this out caused a lot of anger on both sides. Some people on Reddit decided that it's a good idea to take more of my work, more of the pieces that I put tens of thousands of hours into and just poured my heart and soul into, and generate even more AI models based on that. And a lot of people have been releasing it to the public in that subreddit. I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying, how dare you react the way you did? How dare you call this out in your story? You caused all of this drama.
And I think this first one he puts on screen, like, fucking does it, right? Sam failed to understand that we hold all the cards and we can do whatever we want. An artist has no right to speak to gods. Sir, I don't think you know what an artist is. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but artists don't give a shit. Art has always been to not give a shit. Art is based on expressing whatever about whatever. That includes gods It always has. Whether that be content or love or admiration for those gods, or whether it be discontentment and, let's say, hedonistic. So to say otherwise to an artist tells me you don't fucking know what an artist is or what we do. Artists never fucking given two shits about the person in charge, whether they be a god or a man or otherwise. Look at the artists who drew cartoons about Muhammad. They did it anyway. And they're gonna do it anyway, and they're gonna keep doing it until it gets normalized. So yeah. Get used to that, dipshit. The next one says, cat is out of the bag. Oh, hey, that's the thing that Jazza said. It's not going in, boys, no matter how much you want it. Anyone can and will create this type of models, and no one can stop it. In 5 to 10 years from now, AI art will replace humans. It's just reality of things. The cat is out of the bag. There is nothing you can do about it. Fashion industry will be the first one to get decimated. Dead, gone, all workers replaced by AI, models, photographers, fashion designers, etc. Every company in the world is adding this technology to their products. There is no way to stop this. Accept it. It's happening. Deal with it. Color me unsurprised that a group that tends to be like nerdy recluse that don't know how to communicate with people are are emotionally immature, are so incredibly like stunted in this area and have no understanding or care for ethics or what that would actually even mean for them because they are so short-sighted. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's to be so short-sighted as to not understand what that would mean and what that would look. These are the people who quote 1984 all the time about Big Brother and the dystopia. That's what you're doing. That's what you're making. You're making a dystopia. And the thing is guess what? Even in the dystopia, the artists are still going to exist. As long as there are people, there is going to be art. Whether you popularize it or whether you decide to spend your money on fucking shitty AI products is going to be on you. And does that mean artists aren't going to suffer? Of course artists are going to suffer. Welcome to doing art. Our artists have always suffered. We've been on the fringes of society for fucking decades. Why do you think your culture is trash? Because you shuffle all the people who create and build and maintain culture into the trash. So at the end of the day, you want to talk about what needs to be accepted and you're going to have to deal with? People are going to make art forever. Whether you decide to be a piece of shit about it or not is going to be up to you.
So now this is all going to come back to you. And part of me is angry about the situation, but I think I'm more sad about it than anything else. It just seems there's no empathy, there's no understanding, there's not even an attempt to try to understand why an artist could be so upset about something like this happening to them. And some
He's right, and I just want to read the last one on the screen. It says, as I said, you can expect even more. Sam does art models. This is just the start, probably a lesson to show that you can't stop this even if you want. Adapt and accept or keep crying. Yes, it's like this artist doesn't understand that all his art is online and millions of people now have access to AI. They've missed the point. Surprise, surprise. I mean, they're Reddit commenters. And I can't say that this isn't the kind of reaction I would expect as an artist, as somebody who deals with PR a lot. I can't say it's that surprising to speaking out about something like this when you're already popular enough to have had a bot created. But I think it was brave of him to do so anyway, because I don't think he's surprised either that this was the response and creating more AI models on his art happened. The question is going to be whether or not those models that were created off of his stolen work are actually used or profited off of, or whether they just get buried into the depths of the internet where they only really exist on like 2 or 3 rejects computers in their mom's basement. Right? The being concerned about an individual isn't really the point of the conversation, at least not my conversation. The point is that this is a thing that's happened. This is a thing that is happening, and it's a thing that's going to continue happening. That's not new or surprising to artists. Artists have been getting ripped off forever. Sometimes by other artists. So what? The tech bros aren't doing anything new to us that hasn't happened to us already. This isn't new. You're not special. It's not impressive to, like, kick a homeless person as you walk by. You're just an asshole.
Understanding, there's not even an attempt to try to understand why an artist could be so upset about something like
on that point where he's like, there's not even an attempt to be fair or reasonable about this. You remember Jazz's video, at the end of Jazz's video, where Jazza was crying out for reasonable fairness about this? Did you remember how one-sided his concern was? He was concerned about the artists being too mean to the people making AI, to the people that were stealing their shit. He wasn't concerned about the people who were making stolen shit and doing shit like this. Why was your message so one-sided, let's say? Let's call it that. Especially since you talked about the beginning how you wanted to be responsible. So why aren't you being responsible? Where's that respect you were talking about? I mean, I'm waiting for somebody, and I think it's probably going to be actually them. I'm waiting for like somebody like Markiplier to just have a bot like run his channel, because there's like enough of his voice out there, there's enough of his face out there, there's enough like content that he's put out that he could probably just AI generate an entire like series. And I kind of hope the person who does it and makes like a separate YouTube channel called like AI Markiplier or Markiplier AI is actually Mark. Like, I hope it's him that does it as like an experiment, or he puts it on his channel, because like that's fascinating, and it's with his fucking consent, because he's the one doing it. It's him, right? Like, that would be cool and valuable and interesting, and I would love to see something like that, because this isn't about hating AI or hating the advancement of society. This is artists being like, oh, look at us getting shit on all over again. Yay! Look, a new way for me to get fucked in the ass. Great! Yippee fucking skippy!
like this happening to them. And some people have gone as far as to directly email my business email about their competition that they ran to try to make a model that looks most like my work in a way that's very passive aggressive, very backhanded, and borderline harassment. And I can tell you right now, I'm not the only one who has experienced toxicity like this. Greg Rutkowski, who I've mentioned before, have received comments and messages about how he shouldn't feel the way he does, how he's overreacting. You know, just attempts to invalidate artists, calling us whiny, calling us complainers. But with this video, I'm hoping.
So, I'm not sure why you guys are feeding someone's art who literally said they don't want to be part of it. You're disrespecting the artist's wishes. I care as much about the artist's feelings as he cares about mine. What made you think that artist didn't care about you? And I think this exposes kind of the mentality of the people that are doing this. For the longest time, people have been told over and over and over again that technology doesn't touch on like love and emotion and heart, and like robots can't make art, right? And now it's like they've gotten a hold of this toy that they think that they've been told is untouchable, and it's like, now it's ours, it belongs to us now, haha, fuck you, you don't get to play with it anymore. But the thing is what they're creating is trash, and it's not even good anyway, and it's gonna be bad in the future, because the better it gets, the worse it's gonna be, right? Because the better it gets, the less artists are putting into it, and so if there's no artist to put anything into it, it's going to stagnate, and it will get bad. It'll be bad, because you're never gonna be able to make anything fucking new. And then what are we going to do? Start art all over again from scratch because nobody remembers or knows how to do any of the techniques? Like, if you're talking about what these people are saying is going to happen, meaning that there will be no artists anymore, as in nobody's going to make art, that means nobody's making any music, that means nobody's singing anymore, that means nobody's dancing, that means there's no clubs to go to. All of this is gone. If all of these things are gone, and there's nobody doing any of these things anymore, there is nothing new being put in, which means that everything will end up the same. And it's just going to follow whatever trend is what the AI will do will crunch the numbers, and everything will look the same to you, because you'll never be shown anything new and you'll never be shown anything different, even if it did exist, because you're only going to get what you're looking for, because that's what AI bots and algorithms do. That's what machine learning does. It shows you what it thinks you want to see. That's why people complain about the YouTube algorithm all the time, because they don't see anything new. They just see the same shit. That's why people get YouTube burnout so much. It's like, I'm not seeing anything new on here or anything that interests me, because it's just the same shit over and over and over. It's the same kind of video. It's the same kind of content over and over and over again. You have to go looking, or you need to make separate accounts. So you make one account that you watch fucking like gaming on, and you go to another one that you watch like debates and discussion on, or you watch stuff about AI, or you watch stuff about art, and you watch them on different accounts, so that way those accounts will be catered to different things, so you can fool the algorithm. Right? So you have the algorithm at that point is a detriment. Right? And that's what's going to happen to art, because all these corporations are going to be using whatever they think you want. You think reboots in Hollywood is bad now for getting the samey shit over and over and over again? That's what you're gonna get. But now you're talking about removing all of the people involved that bring that uniqueness to the table. So you remove them, and now all of it's gone. Originality will disappear. If this is, what you want, surely your video games will look and sound great and not just be the same thing over and over and over and over again. I hope you're happy with less than mediocrity.
Us whiny, calling us complainers. But with this video, I'm hoping to reach people, to educate people, to let people know about how big of an issue this really is. And honestly, if you're an artist, or even if you're not an artist and you just care about the rights of artists, I wholeheartedly stand with you. I stand beside you. Educate people on this. Post it on your story. Let your voice be heard. Even if people in the AI industry do try to silence you, just know that there are millions of artists who stand with me and with you, who stand behind you. To make the changes that we need, it's going to take all of us knowing about this issue, talking about this issue, and educating people who don't know just how messy the situation is. And I don't want this video to make you feel like there's just no hope in the future, because there absolutely is. If you don't know, DeviantArt recently tried to opt every single art piece ever posted onto their website into their AI system. But guess what? Artists on that platform pushed back against that. They made their voices heard, and that decision was reversed by DeviantArt. So there is a way to make a difference. Even if AI is here to stay, your voice and my voice will make sure that the future that we live in is an ethical and fair one to artists. And to all the artists out there who have a following, who have not spoken up on this topic yet, I understand it's hard. You want to avoid drama. You don't want to be pulled into something that you're not ready for. But this affects all of us. Doesn't matter how safe you feel, how much you feel like your work is not going to be affected. Oh, AI is here, but I'm still going to be drawing in 10 years, so I'll be fine. Your job is secure, and that's great. I'm happy for you, but think about the young people right now. I get so many comments and messages from people telling me how they feel hopeless. There are literally kids out there, art babies, who are in art schools going through a 4-year program to hopefully work in the industry, and they feel like there's no hope for them. If you're an artist with a voice, with a platform, you don't have to do it for yourself. Do it for the younger generation. There are so many people, young people, who are counting on you. I don't know about you guys, but I want a future where there's an option to pursue the passion of art as a career. I want a future where the kids want to draw, want to create, want to make things that mean something to them. And whether we like it or not, we're at a very pivotal time in history right now, and there are big changes coming, and it starts right now with me and you. So if you've made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for being here, for listening, and for trying to understand the situation. I do want AI to be part of our future, but just not this current version of it. Feel free to share this video with people who might not.
I think that's fair. I think he makes some good points and arguments, but I think they're even this is like just skimming the surface of how complicated and complex this gets. There's a lot to go over, and I really just wanted to be able to share both Jazz's and Sam's points of view because I don't entirely disagree with Jazza either. I don't like his approach, and I think his argumentation is not well thought out. I appreciate his enthusiasm, and I appreciate the idea of being optimistic. But Sam is just as optimistic. He says the same thing. He's like, AI can be great. This version doesn't function, and here's why. And I think it's important for people to actually know what is and is not I don't know if I've seen any artists saying no AI ever. What I've seen is this current version of AI is unethical. Here's why we don't like it. And the response from the AI community is the most childish fucking shit I have ever seen. It immediately resorts to bullying. It immediately resorts to bad argumentation and a lack of fundamental understanding between machine learning and a lack of understanding between ethics and a lack of understanding of what fucking art even is in the first place, which is a philosophical question. It's a fucking shit show, and I gotta say, I haven't seen very many artists engaging in the behavior that I'm seeing, or that I have seen from people who are proponents of AI. The best that I've seen from the proponents of AI are a fundamental misunderstanding of either ethics or they have different values and they don't care. They're just like, yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about how that turns out. And you know what? When they don't care, they don't care. And I mean, that's up to them, I guess.